How to caulk a toilet the right way, guaranteed. I'm gonna show you some tricks I've picked up on the way, but also I'm gonna tell you, if you hang around to the end, my preferred way of doing this and the reason behind it. Now, if you're new here, or even if you're not, if you've been here before but you've never hit that subscribe button, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on anything. And if you know somebody that may need to do this at their house, you might share this video with them. And if you're a plumber, I want you to leave me comments and let me know what you think about this, because we're supposed to caulk every toilet that we set. Now, think about this. If you pull out an old toilet and you put another one down that has a different footprint, this is something you're gonna have to deal with. Now, we take razor blades in, we take wire brushes in, and we do whatever we can to get that old caulk footprint, that outline out of the tile, off the floor, whatever it is that we're working with. So I'm gonna talk to you today about how I caulk toilets, but also let's talk about why. Why would you want a toilet caulked? Well, if you ever have a loose wax or anything like that, maybe the toilet started wobbling, which instead of caulk, if you'd have installed that toilet on maybe a grout bed, depending on what your subsurface looks like, could have possibly kept that from wobbling. I understand the theory behind that. But my thought is, you put a caulk ring around it so that if there's ever a leak under there, or sewer gases, water, whichever wants to escape, well, this caulk is gonna keep them from doing that. So I completely understand why they want it done. But my thought behind it is, if I've got a leak under my toilet, even if I have sewer gases getting out from under my toilet, I think I'd rather them come out where I'm aware of them than get stuck up under the toilet. So literally what we're gonna do, we're gonna take and we're gonna put a bead of caulk around the edge of this toilet. Now, like I said, it can act a couple of different ways. If you've got a toilet that doesn't set right, maybe you need to put shims under it. Well, that caulk is gonna cover up that shim, so it's gonna look more appealing. The bad thing about it though, you're having to use a shim. Is the caulk gonna help that? Is that gonna help keep it in place? Yes, it should. And don't get me wrong, floors aren't perfectly level, especially if putting in a tile floor, a hardwood floor. And we've done both. You get a floor that's not perfectly level, you need, and I love those little, not really plastic, but the shims that are almost giving, like a rubber shim. Drive those in there so you've got something in to keep it from wobbling. Now, I'm an old school plumber. Before there were shims, there were pennies. If you've ever pulled a toilet and you found pennies under it and you think that's weird, what happens is, normally when the toilet was not completely level, a plumber would take a couple of pennies, or a penny, however many you needed, put them in, that way he built that solid foundation.
I found a penny!
That way that front edge of the toilet has something to set on, so that when people sit on it, it doesn't wobble. So we're gonna go ahead now, I'm gonna pull off the caulk, I'm gonna show you how to do it, but make sure you stay till the end, because I'm gonna show you what I do different than most plumbers out there, and I think it's a very smart thing to do, and a great way to put your customers in a better position. Okay, so first of all, we get the caulk out, and we've got a brand new tube here. You've got different markings on here. So you've got the markings on here to where you can cut it like a small opening, or you can cut it on a big opening. I like to look and see how much space am I gonna need. And sometimes I'll even take the tip and see how far under there will it go. If I put it at the small opening and I put the opening up there, it's gonna put it right at the edge of the toilet, so I still think that I'm gonna be good. Now, if I had a bigger gap, maybe I had to put shims under it and I've got a bigger gap there. Well, instead of cutting it at the small opening and having to go through and squeeze it harder, put a couple of runs over it, I'll go ahead and cut a little further back, get the large opening, squeeze it, and then kind of work it around. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut it on the small opening, and we're gonna do one side. I'll cut it on the large opening and do the other, and show you why. Now, before I get going, you understand I'm doing this on wood, so it's gonna look a little bit different. Probably not quite gonna be as smooth as it would be on a good floor, but on a floor, I would also flush the toilet. I would want clean water in here, and I've got big sponges. And I love the big sponges because then I've got something wet that I can always wipe my finger on. That way if I want to use my finger, but you've also got clean water in here. You can dip your finger in there and use it, get some rags, get a sponge, get anything you need, because you want this to look as good as possible. So the first thing that we're gonna do, line it up on a small line like I talked about, and cut the tip off. So we've got a pretty good size opening there. I've kind of got a little curve on it just because I want to make sure that I use this like a finger to help push the caulk down in there. But as you see, I've also got room. I can cut up to the next level and get a bigger opening if I need it. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so as you see, Look, this toilet's kind of dirty. This is a trainer. This is out in the shop. This is what we do it for. But I'm right-handed, so I want to get in a position where I can get in here and use my right hand for speed, for control, for squeezing, for anything that I want to do. If I were on the other side, I'd turn the other way. I'd start from the front and work my way back. I could still do it like this, but I prefer to work with it on my left-hand side. Now, different people are different, and we all do things different. Find out where you're comfortable. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you how we're gonna do this. Okay, so I've got some damp paper towels here. I'm gonna set these down because I can use these two different ways. I can use them to wipe my finger off, or I can use them to wipe my joint with. Now, I've also got a rag in here in the water. That way, if I'm in here wiping my finger off, it's either on a sponge, on a rag, or something like that. So I'm not just putting the caulk down in the toilet. Some people will walk in and literally freak out. Okay, so that was pretty easy to do. We cleaned it up pretty good. It looks nice all the way around. There's probably a couple of spots where we could say, okay, we want to wipe it up and clean it down a little bit more. But I'm telling you, for a job done on the plywood, it actually looks great. So what I'm gonna do now is spin it around and show you what it would look like with the bigger opening. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this now on the larger opening. Again, towards the end, I like to try to give it just a little bit of curve if I can. And that gives me just a little bit to kind of push it up in there. So now, like I said, I'm right-handed, but what if I couldn't get in there? What if I've got to do it left-handed? Well, you get in whatever position you can to do your best work. Now, as you can see, that looks pretty good. I probably wouldn't even come back and wipe that. It's nice and straight. It filled up all the way around. You've got a couple of bulbs right here, a couple of little knots that if you get your finger wet, you can blend it in and make it look pretty daggum good. Now, I've got caulk all over this towel, so I want to be very careful every time I do anything. Back here, since I'm not going to do anything, I don't have any problems. But up here in the front, I want to roll it where I've got a good, fat, big radius. That way I can try and wipe anything off the deal. So what did I do? I caulked it just like code says I have to do. Now, if you're a plumber or you're a homeowner and you've changed out your own toilet, do me a favor and tell me, did you caulk it? Now, here's what I did. If this thing ever backs up, overflows, or I get sewer gases out, I left the very back open. The reason being, I want to know if any water's coming out, so I don't like to caulk it 100%. I think this will still keep it from wobbling. It'll keep a lot of things from happening, but at the end of the day, it is still caulked. And I've left it open on the back, so I know if it leaks, if I've got water back here, I've got a problem underneath, now I need to pull this toilet. And to pull it, you take your knife, razor blade, cut that loose, and go through and clean it all up and do it all again. Did you get value out of this? Did you find something today that maybe you weren't doing or you think you should be? Caulking a toilet is a smart idea. Doing it the right way to do what's best for your customers and yourself, that's a great idea. I'm Roger Wakefield, helping you make more money in the trades.